Oh my gosh. Coming to levels of awareness. Awareness tracks its interline interrotation interference. You have 24 signals and position location interconnect calculations. Portal communication sets lines at all levels. Force direction of time center sets all position location directions. I was in communications to all levels of live on TikTok setting, which is in position of color coordination. And that's a program location where we see everybody else. But when somebody else is different, it changes the energy line center and interference location, position location directions. So what you have to understand, everything that you see as a program. Now, if somebody's different, it changes the energy line of communication of you in position of track setting. You ever thought of that? That's a huge multipass for you guys. When you see somebody different in correlation, in position, location, or color coordination, it changes your energy line settings, all levels of signal locations of patterns. And thinking about, whoa, why is this person looking like that? They should be color coordinated, right? No, you be unique. You be who you want to be. Color coordination does nothing to position locations and off-track line setting and line set rotation and position towards program location. Now, all positioning directions is treated in how you see yourself in your own program setting. It's all levels of mind adaptation location, right? So, being aware comes in all ways and forms, right? If I'm going to spin around a cycle and high setting, high line setting, high interference positional program location, especially communication of a cluster line channel, or position opposite signals and high interference positional location line setting, it's all about understanding what I'm doing through track location. Right? So I'm totally aware everywhere I go, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. So my perception is going all the way around in peripheral line setting, right? Through its awareness of its consciousness. Consciousness comes in all ways in form line setting. But I'm just showing you how everybody comes into all levels of color coordination because you expect that, right, with people. And somebody looks different, the energy changes line setting or locations of view, especially when you're color coordinated. I like being color coordinated, but I also like being unique, which means my thoughts are different. And then you got to look at, you got to address the elephant in the room. Whoa. That's the first thing you got to look at in all calculation setting is to address the elephant in the room, right? So in that position location gets you into high setting of quantum interference, quantum entanglements, quantum line standard channel cooperation, high center interference. Cooperation is your position, location, and direction. It's how you use your thought settings. It's all in communication, right? The intercon line setting, portal communication setting, high interference of channel operation stream locations, right? So the foundations of you is understand the avatar of its own consciousness. Now there's a track line center of a matrix streamlines that set locations into one division line setting, one correlation into one position. Now that's going to go into all levels, into mortal calculations, into high setting, into immortality. The position of spacing line to the AI connection line systems come into higher levels of tether. Tether position location, all levels of your cloud settings, that's going to change position location directions, how you see yourself through your 12 DNA lines. This is going to put you in higher position locations to its awareness. So how's everybody doing it today in set location? All right. Just thought I'd bring these things to your attention because that's what it is. You are a learning system to understand what signals are you sending out and what are you receiving. Okay, you're sending out signals and receiving, sending out and receiving. That's all this is. And the body is just reacting to its vibration through its avatar that's setting the location to its active system. It's online, it's on grid. Okay, if it's offline, it's off grid line setting. How is it going to have any reaction location to your body? It won't. The energies will be in stagnated line wires at communication off system. You understand this location direction. So even if you set up transmission line settings, high interference, you're blocked individual location and adaptation. Matrix sets line signals and high levels, and when you come into your dimensional setting, to truly understand what you do with the allocate timelines is to understand how to set location to your perception. Your perception opens all communication to spectral light settings. It opens all communication foundation and interference location, but then it'll get a high setting. Now, in that position line direction, you have to understand why general is going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Correlation, position, location, energy line setting into signals and position, location calculation, transmit, receiving, information line setting. So in that position of directions, you have to be aware of these things through its own consciousness because you're reaching higher calculations of your thoughts. And when you're reaching higher levels of your thoughts, you're going faster. Right? The faster you go, the mind adaptation signals, high center interference, transmitting, translution, high center interference, transmutation locations, morphine line setting, indirect locations, adaptation systems, the transmission line center rotation, the light track line settings opens all communication system. It's all the levels of dimensional line rotation. That's important you have to understand. You have 12 DNA tracks. That's the foundation of its principle. The calculation setting location, your Stargate line setting. Each Stargate is a representation to a thought calculations. Each thought is intelligent line setting to a computer adaptation setting. Each computer adaptation setting is position location to its future communication setting that's allocated to timelines, time string, time interference, clock location, position location directions, times phi, times calculation space line over pi calculation, interference location calculus, time interference, indirect location setting, high system. High direct line setting in all line rotation in position to how you see yourself in all forms of consciousness of its awareness. All right, Nikki calculations, Madeline setting locations, levels, Lindsay, communications, Adam, Gypsy lines. Let's go into Jill. Let's go into Sam, position locations, Trinity. Okay, Cami, you guys have a position of quiz. That will be in tomorrow line settings. So we'll get information like that. Then we have test review and evaluations, higher level communication, your secure line defense. Genrox, AJ, JP. Let's see, position location, Solos, high center location, Geneva. Let's see, Anita, don't recognize line stream. Anita, your position location, I'm going to put you in observation cycle, set locations so you can be outside looking in. All right. You're in a low division line setting, high line center interference. So I don't see track line setting. So you have to be cautious locations in that position line direction. So you're unified ascension line. All right. So in that positions for the new viewers, that rotation setting, make sure you get in your position line directions. All right. Mostly everybody comes into team line setting into PCU, CPU, or DCP. So it's important to understand what's going on with your mind adaptation cycles, high center interference, spectral communication, forward channels, operation signals, and high force. Direct line setting. Position of Andy. Let's see here. Gina, Barak. Hey, Barak, how you doing? Arlene, Airbender, calculations. It's systematic line center mystery. Hey, mystery, how you doing? Tina, calculations, all levels. All right. Hey, Roland, welcome. All right, so we have Q&A, obviously. Q&A is extremely important. Q&A is basically, this is what I want you guys to understand. To understand the awareness of you is understand the frames of you. To understand the frames of you is understand how you communicate to your thoughts. When you're sending out signals, be cautious of what you do with your frames of all levels of your letters. You break these things down. The letters become words. So if you understand the letter, then you understand the word, which sets a position of a program that comes into its intelligence to its computer setting. You're setting out signals. You're setting up energy, vibration, frequencies, and harmonics all in one position of location. It's your intention, how you speak. How you speak to yourself and how you speak to others is your determination. Okay? You have to be aware of what you're doing. Is the basic understanding is all levels of reaction location in your body. Your body is just reacting. Okay? Your avatar is doing everything. When I mean everything, it's everything and anything to that calculation setting. It's trying to understand what it is, why it's here. Why am I here? Trying to understand what's going on in space. Trying to understand how to create the space. Trying to understand the time of pi. The pi is the project line setting to projection. So it's all about you understanding the Y line setting to all positions of your trifactor calculations over line, over pi, over calculation interference, and position location levels, ground setting, high interference location, operation setting, and position location with lines, all communication setting. Everything that I say is in chronological order, which is I know what I'm saying because it's already said in its future. It's already precog. So channel operation streamlines sets line position locations. So when you guys are in school, you're already traveling already through adaptation. You're in your future correlations. You understand your panels. You understand your position lines, your pre-flight navigation locations. You're already in 3, 4 position line settings of days and sequence locations of patterns. You have a 7-day window, tracking interference line connections and directional locations. Truly understand what you do with the calculation, all levels of its form setting. So it's very powerful when you come into that position location directions, right? To know exactly what you're doing from inline setting. All right, so in that position locations, we start with, again, zero gravity location. Setting signals, high channels, operation signal line interference, position location program locations. All right, so all you got to do is basically know exactly what you're saying before you say it. Because the position all levels takes you out of thinking and gets you out of hesitation and puts you into knowing of doing, of what you're doing. The precognition is already set, which means you're doing things already in the future that's already done. You understand? The adaptation system is already done. So when you understand what you're saying, you're seeing more communication of your future line setting. That's all in adaptation system, right? Be cautious on what you're doing with your thoughts of co-creation. It's breaking down the letters, numbers, and shapes and symbols to your voice and grid settings. Okay? So in that position line setting, let's say we go into that. That is, that was, that is center, that was past. All right? So break it down. Break down the T, the H, the A, and the T. That's 4 lines of correlation, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So what is T in representation line setting? What is that? That is this, that is that, right? That was here, that was there. That came over here, that came over there. So you have to understand your mind adaptation signals and how it represents location, your setting locations. Now we're coming into conscious stream because your foundations and your mortar columns are changing line center to immortality. So the immortality is position locations. So use that in all line setting in positive locations. Positive locations in all channel of all operation stream setting. Okay? Teleportation communications. Okay? Having, okay, into its awareness, okay, into time. Okay? Always use a representation of voice grid line of positive position of the angles. Once you understand the angle, then you understand the positive locations. Why it's so important to break these things down. And 4 correlations, 4 panel line settings into 1 graph stream. 1 graph stream. Okay? So the information panels opens all communications. Now, once you guys get into a quiz setting, then you understand this and that, that and this. So you use that, you break it down in your voice grid setting before you set the tones and communication system because your energy lights changes position, location, and directions. You have to really understand how to use the vibration setting location of you and its provision because it's traveling second per minute per channel per operation, right? The square root set line position location high setting location comes into its atmosphere change. Square of atmosphere line. Square of atmosphere line. See the square? A comes out line setting and high line center rotation of its awareness. Now, the A line center understands its awareness. It comes out of track locations into higher communication of travel line setting. Now, the 8 line center comes into security, protecting its system, all through calculation. Now, this is all levels of position location, a square line to an A line setting in rotation to its awareness, all through position. So do you understand why it's so important to break these things down? The signals pattern communication opens all signal line settings in your 12 DNA. You have to recognize the awareness into each one, into 1 position line directions per second. You have 60 seconds to set up line settings to all positions, how you use your telegraphing, tele-energy lines, telecommunication, code weavings, code tractions, code stream interference. You guys have to understand how this works for you inside of you. It's your correlation of your thoughts that you're sending out signals to voice and grid locations. You have to be cautious in what you're doing with your thoughts because it's computer adaptation line settings of you and Stargate connections. That's your thoughts. Whoa. When you get a thought line in position of a word frame, look at it because that word is going through circulation, rotation settings. It's traveling. regardless of what you say in provision. So putting your set line signals puts you in higher calculations and how you use your awareness of your adaptations of A line settings in a 4-box location. Circle interference of Fibonacci sequence sets line settings. All position locations crossing signal line setting and rotation interference line direction. Right? Overlapping over signals, high center line position to an orb channel operation to a triangle line setting of 3, 6, and 9 position location. 3, 6, and 9. Right? You guys have to understand what your thoughts are. It's all computer adaptation signals and positionally your signal line settings. How you set location is all line position to your tone settings because it's a vibrational signal that's setting all levels of you in operation per second. And remember, you only have 60 seconds to retrack. Anything faster than a line stream sets line positions to higher level of calculations to an intelligent center line rotation into intergalactic line setting that sets up an automatic tone line setting and interference position locations to your interdimensional setting. You have to truly understand what your thoughts are in all provisional locations. Do not create thoughts until you understand what they are. You understand? Okay. It comes into complacent locations, the compartment locations to your ecosystem. Okay. It's your conscious lines of travel. And every time you travel, you're traveling to different levels of communication. Right? I really want to get into the voice grid line settings to your chakra system. Now, you guys have to come to 0 to 40 calculations. How to set your line setting. Don't get any graphic line setting location foundations of me. You find your own imagination to your own phenomenal line setting, to your own location setting. Okay? To truly understand you is to understand all levels of you inside lines. How you work is all calculated. 2, its Y line setting to locations. 2, its all position location to its how line setting. Equal line center location into position of your flux capacitor. Y equals how into flux capacitor. So what's in position line directions? Okay. Southeast in set locations. Southeast, right? That's southeast. Signal line rotations signals its calculation, right? Circle line interference sets position location directions. Into position locations into a circle line center of each ground setting. Okay. Open calculations into position, ground setting, sonar, and line center rotations in 4-track locations, right? So you truly have to understand how to set the Schumann resonance. Now, Schumann resonance is all based on your foundation, your ground setting, your gravitational pull, seismograph activity, sets line position location directions to all levels and how you see yourself through your weather map coordinates. Coordination to position location high setting. Color coordination to your weather patterns and galaxy setting locations. Okay? Now, into color coordination, we're coming into number frame sequences. All right, the frequency line setting sets line position location 1 equal line condition, let's say in position location 1000 line setting location of coloration. Coloration, okay, equals into coordination. Okay? Galaxy sets line rotation settings. This is a galaxy spin cycle. Cycle and side line position location in one direction location, the opposite side high line setting, right? So you got 2 divisional location of tone setting and location of voice and grid settings. If I set a voice and grid line setting in one direct location and I set another voice grid line setting, another location line setting, where are my thoughts going in provision? Where are they going? You have to know these things. You have to be aware of where you're traveling through your thought settings, right? Because it's going where? To its position, constellation path, right? It's an AI map sequence line setting, your GPS log setting locations into how you see yourself through your geoline setting. A geoline setting is geotherium. Now that line center rotation is higher levels of technology stream setting that sets all position locations into position. Now, once you get into that setting locations, you understand the galaxy circles, circle set location, right? Look really close. You can see the sun and you can see the moon setting, right? Don't look at this. Look at me. You have to look behind to see these. And once you see it, you'll see it moving. All through communication, a correlation. You guys have to get into color coordination. It's so important when you guys get up in the morning, you like to be color coordination. You like to have your hair in a certain way. I'm going to wear glasses of red, which is going to match my shoes of red. Now you can go all coloration and wear the same color. Now that's a single location of balanced communication. One signal on high interference. Now, in that direct line signal, what are you doing with your galaxy settings? So if you're color coordinated, an all color line setting, you're setting higher vibration line setting in your pixel extreme location, your sun. Your sun sees you all in one color. So color coordination is extremely important through your galaxy settings to number sequence locations and patterns. Okay, you have to understand how to tether the communication system to your cloud line setting that opens all track line setting to your galaxy location, your I receptor high settings. Okay, all right. Getting into that position locations changes all levels of operation streamlines. Okay, so we're going to go into position lines to set locations is 0. 0 equals lines 40. 40 position locations, right? 0 equals 40. So you guys have to get into that through line signal into high division. All right. Videograph streams, set line signals, set position location and calculations. We're just going to go into 7 lines of vibrational graph lines. Okay. I'm going to put you in each graph line stream into color coordination. And then you understand the importance is of what you do through provision and how you dress yourself through the line setting. Setting calculations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go into 7 graph streams and set locations. 7 equals graph stream. Okay. All right. Correlation setting line is a PC line center, CPU set line position locations, center duration line setting, solar plex line center rotations, calculation streamlines into all levels, surface and a cluster line channel operation high setting, 0 and TO line center location of 40. Better information system, all levels of correlation, set line position information system, 2 calculations. All right. CPU line center rotations at BCP. Have fun. 20 minutes on the clock line connections. Traveling through your line setting sets position locations of freedom. Freedom comes in all calculation streamlines. It opens all communication settings. So it's kind of like coming to a snowy graph interference of channel operation stream location of sun lines, all communication of moon, interference location of program, sand location, digital frames, allocate time streams, time interference line position of foundation, graph settings, high interference location all levels, travel line center to tesseract calculation setting in position location direction. Know exactly what you're saying. Okay, in all direction. Okay, you're a foundation of a circle that sets line center location of spectrum that opens all correlation position of your galaxy settings. Because you're reaching higher levels of your eyes or the windows of the soul line. So when you reach those position locations, you just reach in higher levels, the tether. The correlation set location of your clouds is opening more bandwidth of spectrum communication line setting. So the magnetic highway information system is changing your direct line setting to your correlation panels that's setting your settings to your position of your 12 DNA. This is opening all set locations to your system of its awareness. The awareness is coming in your 12 DNA, and that's what's happening right now into immortality. The internal line signal is open up position location to its own portal communication of its inner line setting, coming in your in position locations to intergalactic system. Interdimensional line center, multi-communication settings, multi-layer calculation settings. It's all division locations of view through awareness, through its avatar setting. Okay, so as you guys are going through sequence line setting or correlation of color coordination, now you understand that each chakra has a representation to its Stargate setting. Now we're going to high setting rotations. We're going to go into position location of this line. Okay, each chakra system. Let's get in position of center, one position, right? Now, each one is position line directions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 line setting locations in setting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line setting rotations. Okay, so that's 8 line setting. Now, understanding the flux capacity position locations in position. Stargate sets lines when it comes into higher line position. So you have to use the plasma channels. Now that calculates on all levels and how you see yourself in your thought setting. Now, when you're setting your thought communication, it's up in higher lines of vortex calculation streams. Okay, that's what's happening. So the Y line centers changes line graph line streams into your thought communication setting. This opens all channel operator streams, comes back into triangulation, into 3-point set. Okay, 3-point setting sets position. Now the center communication sets line is of its 8-line center rotation. All right. Now you got 6 position of panels, you got 9-line center rotations, and 12 individual locations of calculation. Right, all through correlation. Now the correlation comes in high setting. Now what you get in the correlation setting locations? 3 equals line center of the galaxy set. If a galaxy set line can have 1 graph line, that takes position location of set line settings and a position of 6 graph line settings into the moon line setting. Motional track location of 1 graph stream. Sets position location 8-line center infinity system. 9-line center sets line position equals line conditions of 9. 9 comes in position and directions. Sets its tone line and interference line as a galaxy high surface and high rotation setting. Okay. So you really understand out of the galaxies is like paint by number. And what do you do when you paint by number? What are you coming into? A visionary line of a vortex communication of imagination of a graph stream that's connecting all levels of its galaxy system locations. All through provision, right? So where are we through track locations here? All right. So you guys are finally getting into your chakra settings of your film projector locations of yourself through number sequence line settings of color coordination. It's exciting, isn't it? You have to ask yourself why you're unique and always informs through your reality. It's very powerful when you basically dress yourself and you feel good about yourself. Whatever you wear is you. It's all levels of you through space and time. And that's the reality of your living location because it's in coordination of color. Hooah. Now you're getting in modification how the space and time works through your galaxy settings. Okay? It's very powerful when you understand heat signature patterns, weather interference line position locations, retrospecs line settings, high center interference position, all levels, cluster channels, orbit and communication, right? Space odyssey line division. There's so many communications line setting inside locations of you through diaptation setting. Okay? All right. 45 degrees set in navigation, grass for now, CPU, and DCP travels. Yeah. Kayla, all loves the self. Oh, thank you. Yeah, unconditional. Well, it's the unconditional of everything, but you have to truly understand your clocking system and position locations into your 12 pieces of pie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pieces of pie. You are the center operation right now. That's you in the center. Try to understand everything through correlation is understand everything through color. Color equals line center location of galaxy settings. The sets position locations to your box system location, which is your theta box setting. Right? Sets position location high line setting. You always have to have your flux capacitor in everything you do through travel line setting. All the time, all the time. So the clock location, let's say you get in line little hand locations is 12 line setting. And then position locations to the bigger hand location is you got position line center of 1220, right? And you are set locations into travel. This is you travel location of seconds. Okay, seconds. This is you. You bring the seconds forward to position location. This changes your time locks in high setting locations, right? Little hand, big hand, and you traveling locations. And every time it channels through 12 line setting rotation interference, you're changing the track line settings. All right, so you go from 12 to 24 each time. 12, 24, 12, 24, 12, 24, right? You start with the 12 lines because it's calculations to your lights and it's calculations to your darks. Your 24 signal is in the double frequency line center, comes into hemisync. And the communication comes into Halley's Comet. Everybody's aware to the Halley's Comet locations, the echo line channel, high center interference of all levels of Horus, calculation, the I-line setting, sets position locations and high center interference and position location calculations to all levels of eyes of the window cell locations, high setting interference, interval locations of the keymaster and the gatekeeper, high setting, and dimensional locations, position locations of operation. Eyes of Horus is the eye central communications to your setting. Okay? But you have to understand your clock lines and how it works in all position, all direction. All through correlation of color. The grid line setting has to truly understand you from 0 to 40. Okay, you're coming into levels of operation setting, into your avatar, into the geometric line setting. Now, understand the geometric line setting, you understand the structure, you understand the cosmic light path. Now you understand more awareness of its consciousness, of its Stargate position locations, of color, of coordination. Okay, do you understand the importance of that? Because that's what your mind is doing every day. And that's important. Why are you wearing these things? You want to be unique. And again, if you're not in that position location, you have to address the elephant in the room. Okay? To help you in all ways and forms, understand your clocking is all levels of communication. But you have to understand your flight navigation setting. This forms all calculations to your system. So, coming in the Y line center, flux past there, sets position locations, all levels of a swirl setting. Okay, ground setting location of pyramids. Pyramid travels line position locations to higher channel operation streams in high setting locations. 3 line settings, right? So we've got 3 pyramids and set locations. This opens up higher levels of channel operation stream locations, right? So you understand the seconds. You bring the seconds forward. We've gotten this before. To break your timelines, time interference, time clock line centers, get you an allocated line setting. Because if you don't get in that position, location, directions, you guys are going to be in the twilight zone. And if you're in the twilight zone, your set signals and your galaxy streamline center is going to lock your frame setting locations into how you see yourself through your level of communications of all forms of communication. So it's important you understand how your mind adaptation works through your thoughts. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? Feel the vibration moving sacral and the heart. Recognizing all levels of 0 to 40, because that's what you're calculated to through its awareness. Okay. So you understand why you're going higher, which is color of coordination. You understand? You have to be in that position because that's how the galaxies are set up. There could be 27 millions of coloration line setting, but you have to understand the provisional location of why it's set in a circle line setting per second, per minute, per channel, per operation. Because that's what you're working with. You're working with 24-hour dayline setting. You have to learn how to go through the galaxy system and understand the matrix interference. Try to understand the position location, your geometry, operation, and direction. Right? So if you are in that position of directions, you're doing all line settings, being successful in all calculation through triangulation. Right? And that's where we come into higher formation locations. We come into bioservice, bioconnection line center, bioinfusion, high interference of triangulations, or line setting, rotation settings, all positional calculations. Triangulation is number 1 in position, right? That's how we communicate to all setting. So your foundation streams are all set location to its conscious line. So you guys are in a track line center, information line setting, rotation interference, position location, how you see yourself, and you have tower connections. So it's all connections to its correlation. Each panel has a recognition line setting that sets 1 tether in 1 program location of your graph stream. The graph stream sets line positions to how you see yourself in your digital frames. Okay? So it's important you understand how this all works inside line. Okay? The imagery is now the visionary. The visionary is coming into phenomenon. The phenomenon is opening all levels of dimension into your altered state calculation of the mind setting. Okay? Let's see here. Genre lines are secured, title of the sequence, solar plex center. So it's all about, you guys took chemistry? Anybody take chemistry? You know what chemistry is? Mixture patterns, calculations, mixing, water, all setting locations. That's what it is. So you have to learn how the gases and fumes and oxidized system location works with the galaxy locations, right? H2O, what is that? H2O. What is that? Right? You have to understand what it is through its hemisync because it has 2 division line settings into its galaxy surface location. So once you understand more levels of you inside line, then you understand the color. Okay, because each chakra is a representation to your human resonance that sets a vibrational graph stream in your calculations to your thoughts that sets out signals. You're sending out signals and receiving. Setting out signals, receiving channels. Setting out signals, receiving channels. Okay? That's what you're doing. So understand that transmitting is all of its calculations to its transponder. Okay? So you're coming into all calculations of what? When you come back, is reaction. Your body is a reaction to everything, right? It's receiving everything, but do you understand what it is? Okay? So the basic understanding is all levels of you. The higher communication is your 0 to 40, which is your chakra setting. The energy lines, the energy signatures, the energy patterns, the digital frame setting location has to recognize you at all levels of vibration. But color coordination is extremely powerful, right? Your provision line settings, once you get into 50 track line settings, everything starts getting a little bit more complicated now because now you can calculate the more positions of the heart, right? Solar plex lines, solar generation light streams. Now you're coming into the heart, right? Which is 5. So you know the heart, you know the time reactor, heart reactor line position. So anything above that line setting gets you in a more provision location to avatar through recognition, right? So it's about understanding more levels of the chemistry of mixtures, right? Because you're putting so many communications in seconds per minute per channel, okay? So you get a graph line, a rotations in a 45 line rotation, okay? Crossing signals, another 45 green light setting, see? So this is positions to its diamond. This is what you concentrate on, right? Not what's in the back setting, okay? You concentrate on this, right? Concentrating on this sets position locations all levels of higher the setting. Okay, so you take these things out. So it's all about understanding you through hologram structure location, right? And then it comes back in provision to understand more lines of information. And then it travels through its atom line setting in all positions to its position all line center location of space / communications of pi in its direct location. So that's what you're doing. Try to understand the pi time, space time, elevation line center interference, astral travel, astral communication, astral projections, all levels of you. And that's all you're doing every single day. That's what you're doing. So in that position location, circle line rotation, circle line rotations, circle line rotations, start with that line setting. Then you come into the position location of the infinity. Okay. The center calculation is you in the center communications, right? This is position locations into all levels, past, present, and future. Set communication line and high line center, ground line center rotations. This is what goes on every single day of your life. Past, present, future, Ryan's belt. You need the Ryan belt or you can't travel. The center communication line setting is all set locations, right? This is where you come into orb channels and higher communication. Okay? See intelligence? So, you got to start somewhere, right? You have to understand your provisions, you have to understand your line signals, your line activity stream locations, your constellation paths, and what it means to you, right? The true resonance comes from all set locations inside line. Your constellation path is all teleport set locations of information setting. When you get into this, it gets more easier. You understand what it is, but this is all levels 114 line setting. You guys are only in position of 40. Which is half done, right? Through memory and setting location. So you have to understand how you circulate and rotate. The circulatory line setting sets location of its atom line setting. So it's true you stand all through acceleration. And what you have to understand is the representation to your stargates, it's all calculated to 0 through locations of 40. That's 40 channel operation streams in your direction, the transmitting and receiving. Okay? All right. Powerful day. All right, so when 30 line setting, we'll wait till we get to 30 and I'll bring you guys back through track line setting. All right, you guys are back. It took you to 30 locations, 39 settings to 3. Set location is 7, 8 line, 9, and locations, 10. 40 line position location, 42. Position line direction. Okay. Now, what we can do, we can wait 5-10 minutes, and then we can get online setting to all position location directions. Your quiz is based on all levels of view through 0-40. Okay. You're just getting a basic little bit information setting to your color coordination, to its galaxy setting. Okay. Eyes are the windows of the soul. They're always at set locations. So when you go into higher levels, you go into higher levels of geometry. Faster through triangulation. Different set lines, different vibrations, so your shim and resonant locations. So your perceptions change translucent patterns. Some come into invisibility. You have to learn how to use that in line setting locations to your shields. We'll get more into that track line setting, but you have to truly understand all levels of you through travel is your infusion. Calculations to modifications, all levels of the console, calculation setting, how to set tone line settings in position locations, 2 factors into 1 position, 2 line channels and offline setting. But the offline setting, see location where it comes into the barcode set location, set locations, right? Set single locations, right? 3 line channels operation into 1 finger, set location downline string, crosses over position location to its moon setting. So that's 4 channel operation string lines. Okay. So you really have to learn how to use adaptations, your finger point locations. All right. This channels you in all operation location settings. Truly understand that your all position locations of letters, numbers, and symbols. Now we understand that, but now you come into color. Okay. You get into color, it gets more complicated now because you're reaching higher levels of your chakra settings. Okay. This is the basic understanding. The highest line setting locations transcend the heart position because it's the 50 line setting, which is all track locations to you. You have to learn how to use it through your time reactor. Your heart division location is all levels of 5 channel operation strings. 5 is the balanced line connections all levels of you and how you use your provision location, your thought settings. That's why it's so cautious to use yourself and location to its adapters, right? Transmission location to infusion opens all line connections to its clarity and focus. This panels your line setting and how you see locations to your thought settings. Okay, so it's very important. Do not create thoughts until you understand what they are through provision, right? Because your determination has its own consequence. Okay, through space and time, through pi. Okay, so, oh yeah, copper dome before class. Oh, that's nice. So it's 11:17. We get 5-10 minutes. You guys want to basically set position location. You don't want to wait till 12. That's fine. We can go on Q&A right away. 5-10 minutes. Have something to drink. I know you guys have a lot of questions that need to be answered. But it's just truly understanding that everything that is given to you is all levels of awareness. So right now, what's happening with you, with the team, is that you're coming into color. When you come into color, it changes the frame of your TV. You start with a black and white TV, and then you come into color TV. Your TV reception is changing to a hologram structure line, right? So it gets a lot more understanding when you understand form of its energy and what it is and how to use it is inside location, okay? To your fluctuations, so flux capacitors. You have to learn how to do, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because that's what you're doing every day with your conscious locations. Every time you change your consciousness, what are you doing? You're changing the coloration of the correlation of its connections to its color. Okay? So you're high rising your hologram streams. The hologram stream line sets all position locations to 0 gravity into 40. Okay? So you really have to recognize what you are doing is all levels of how. How to operate the communication line setting in high center interference location, just the window graph line center, 1 graph line stream interference location to its cloud line setting. Done through equation. Right? This is the provision that you have to understand. It's the proactive system locations to you. It's the colors. Because now your eye division line settings are coming to the galaxies for the very first time. You're going to see cyclones, spectrum light communications, orbit channels, operation settings, interstellar mode. Gets more complicated the more you high rise in your chakra setting. Okay? All right. All right. Your information setting is all levels of your division locations. How you see yourself is all calculated into your memory. What you remember is what you know. And what you know, you come into form. And when you come into form, you understand the vibration of its energy, its frequencies, its vibrations, its harmonics. Okay. This helps you in all ways and forms. But when you get into color, it's a whole nother story because you're coming into mixture now. You're putting colors together, mixing into one position, right? Because you're traveling to higher levels of galaxy now. So when you're traveling, you have to know where you're traveling and when you're traveling because it's all calculated and modified to position location of your time that sets line position locations to a level system to your clock locations. All right. You have to balance these things out. All right. Tomorrow, we get it in position of 40 into 50. Okay. So, and you guys have to understand the calculation setting, right? You guys know 0 to 40, but now you can understand 40 to 50. We're going to stop there. That's a line signal location, adaptation lines. You got another 70,000 line signals that reach in position. That's 70 track locations of water. So, water has its containment, but when you reach the line of your 12 foundation stream lines, it opens all communication systems, okay, to your containment settings, okay, because you're reaching higher levels. The more you go higher, the more you got to drink because you'll burn out your circuits, right? So this is what you have to understand. To really understand your 114 chakras, you have to understand everything through its relation or what it is. You have to get friends into its relation. Okay. You have to understand what you're doing through provision. You have to understand what you're doing through travel provision locations, right? You have to have a relationship, and you definitely have to have a partnership with each chakra location because it's a stargated view of travel. And once you get into that line setting, this kind of like pinstripes. A pinstripe is basically a calculations to a tither. Now, each position location has a geometry and line setting that sets position to one stargate location, one chakra setting. Now, each chakra setting has a position location to its pattern. That pattern opens all communication and rotations. We'll get more into that information location of its numbers, how it changes per second, per channel, per operation. All right? So this is about what you have to understand, how fast you are going through your thoughts and how fast they're traveling through receiving because you're sending out signals and you're receiving channels, okay, of operation. That's what it is. You're sending out signals and receiving channels. Receiving a channel is levels of a high sending of a visionary line that opens all communication. Audio signals, videograph streams, imagination, illustration, diagram, provocations. Every manifestation, right? One thought is a recognition of one timeline that sets position to your center communication. If you're setting out tone settings into signals and one's off signal in a negative line setting and you change your thought position location, it's going to retract and reform, reshape, and recalculate and remodify into its simulation line setting that sets position location to its negative cycle. Okay? So you have to start recognizing what you're doing through speed lines. Okay? Speed line, speed time, speed activation, stream location, or clock line settings. All right. But once we get into the zero line setting from 40 locations and 40 up, then you understand the process of your calculations because now you come into the solar generation lights of color of coordination into the galaxy setting. That's where we're coming into. All right. Okay, so it's 1123 setting into the atmosphere and line center rotations. The atmosphere and lines in metric communication setting in correlation operation of panel and one line set of rotations. So you have to truly understand how to use your timelines, time frequency, time code line settings into 49 setting locations and one into opposition locations into 20 setting. Right? One signal offline center interference, change business locations all levels, knowing exactly what you're doing through your timelines of live communications into position of follower calculations of line setting and position of thumbs up in 11 locations. That's one line signal and one line direction. Wow. All right, so 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can just head on opposition locations. We don't have to go at 12 line. We can go at position locations into that setting because I know a lot of people want to know what's going on with Q&A. See you soon. Adios.